We'll now create our contact info card, which we can see right here in the top right corner. This is the first card inside of our second column in our 2-column grid. This consists of different kinds of icons that are being layered, and some links and addresses, and a form to send a message. So in our code editor, we scroll down and we'll go inside of our second column here. Then we'll create a card with a div tag with the classes card and mb4, just like we used to. Now create our heading with an h2 heading element with the classes card header and text center. We'll give it the text contact info and close the heading tag again. Then we'll create our card body, div tag with the class card body. Okay. To position these icons alongside the content, we'll use the media object, just like we also did over here. So we start with adding a div tag with the class media. Inside this, we'll now create a layered icon. And to see how we do this, we can go to the Font Awesome website. And here, when we scroll down, we can see that we can create layering text and counters. We want to use the layering feature. So we just need to add this FA layers class, and then the first icon will be in the background and the next icons will be on top in that order. We can also do other things. For example, we will use power transforms and scaling, so we can use the data FA transform attribute with different values. Here we can use shrink and grow. We'll use the shrink value. Okay, so now here in our media object, we'll create a div tag with the class FA layers, as we just saw, and FA FW to make it a fixed width, and then FA2X to make it 2 times larger, and finally some margin to the right side. Inside we'll now create the 2 icons. So the first will be the I tag with the class FAS, a solid icon, and it will be the circle icon. We'll also give it the primary text color. Our next icon, which will be inside the circle, will be a mail icon using this class FA mail, and we'll make it white. Now we also want to shrink this using the data FA transform attribute, and we'll give the value shrink 5. Now we'll create our media body, div tag with the class media body, and inside this we'll add my name. And finally, we'll create this horizontal rule in the bottom. Okay, let's see this in the browser. We'll refresh. Here we see that we have our card with our first little section. Okay, we'll continue. So now we'll just copy our media object like so, and we'll change the icon to calendar alt, and inside of our media body we'll add the time element with the date time attribute with the value 1983 12/06, which is my birthday, and we'll write it here in a more human friendly way and close the time tag again. Let's save and refresh our browser. If we look here, we can see that something was wrong with the icon size, so I'll just go back and have a look. Yeah, we need to change this to the value shrink 8 and not 5. I'll refresh. Now it looks better. Okay, let's go back again and duplicate this one more time. We'll now change the icon to be the phone icon, and inside of our media body, or instead of our media body, we'll create an unordered list and give it the class media body. We'll also make it unstyled, so we add the class list unstyled to remove the default bullets. So inside of our media body and unordered list, we'll create our first list item. We'll now create an anchor, and we'll prefix this value in the href attribute with tel:, which will make the device use an application to call this number. So you can now write the number again in a human-friendly way. So for example, something like this, and close our anchor tag again. In our next list item, we'll start with using an icon, which will be a brand icon, FAB, with a fixed width, and it will be the Skype icon. We'll make it have the muted color, a gray color. Close this I tag again. Now we can add our link to the Skype user, like so. We'll copy this and change our icon to WhatsApp and the text here to WhatsApp user. Okay. Finally, we'll create a list item, and inside we'll put a horizontal rule. Let's save this and go into the browser and refresh. Now we can see that we have this part made also. Notice the horizontal rule in the bottom here. We could make this horizontal rule in another way, because right now it's not very semantic. So let's try to comment this out, and up here in our URL tag we can work with borders instead. So we could add border class, which will give borders on all sides, and then make it have the secondary border color, and then remove the borders in the top using the class border top 0, in the right using the class border right 0, in the left using the class border left 0, and then add some padding to the bottom using the class pb3. Let's save and see this in effect. Now we have a similar bottom with a different color though. This might be the best way, but it requires a lot of classes. So right now, to keep it more simple, I prefer just having this horizontal rule in the bottom as we see now. Okay, we'll now create our different mails here. So we'll copy this media object like so, and we'll change our icon to an envelope icon, and the first telephone number will be the mail to prefix, which will automatically open a mail application on the device. Now we'll write the mail once again. So the second one will be the LinkedIn icon, and the third one will be a Twitter icon. Okay, let's see this. Looks just as we would expect. Okay, so the next thing is the address. We'll just copy the media object, and now I want to change the envelope to be the home icon, and I'll also remove all the content in the media body and change it back to the div tag, and remove this class as well. Now inside I want to create an address element, and remove the margin in the bottom using the class mb0. Inside here we'll now write the street name, number, create a line break, zip code and city, and one more line break, and country. Let's save and see this in our browser. Looks great. Now we only need our form here. So we'll copy this one more time. And we'll change our icon to the @ symbol. Inside of our media body, we'll now create a form tag. And the first form group will be an input for name. So we add a div tag with the class form group. Now we want to create an input group, so we have the name attached to our input, or the label is attached to the input. So add a div with the class input group. We'll make this small, so we also add the class input group sm. The input itself will be or the input group, the label will be made with a span element with the class input group add-on. We'll give it the ID name and then the text name. Now for the input itself, we add the input tag with the type attribute with the value text, class form control, the name attribute with the value name. This is just for sending information to the server, so it doesn't have any visual effect. The placeholder attribute with the value your name here. And for accessibility, the area label attribute with the value your name, since we don't use any label elements, and the area described by attribute with the value name, which is referring to the ID up here. We'll now copy this form group, and for the second one we'll change the text here to email, and the ID to email, and the type to email, the name to email, this text here to email, and this word to email, and this value to email. So this was for the email input. We'll paste this form group in one more time for the message itself and the text area. So our input group add-on will have the ID message now, and instead of a text we'll make an icon. So we'll use the I tag with the classes FAS, which is a solid symbol, and the FA pencil alt, which is a pencil icon. We'll close the I tag again. Instead of the input tag, we now need to use the text area tag. We can remove this type. It still have the class form control. The name could be message. The placeholder your message here. And this value your message, and this should be message as well. We'll make it have 3 rows by using the attribute rows with the value 3. Remember that we need to close this tag, and it's an empty element. Finally, outside of our form group, let's now create the submit button, which is a button tag with the type submit, and the classes btn, btn sm, btn primary. So this is a small button with the primary color. We'll give it the text send message and close the button again. Now we'll save and go into our browser and refresh. Now we see our form here, but we missed some spacing here, so we forgot to add the horizontal rule. So we'll just add this right here and save and go back and refresh, and now we see it. This was our contact info card.